Hello, welcome to the Money Revelation Podcast, a podcast dedicated to giving you money revelations to ease your financial stress. My name is Brian, owner of Madeline Financial Coaching, where I am dedicated to helping stressed out couples gain control on their finances so they can live without money anxiety. I believe that each person's money journey is individualized, and there is not just one dedicated way to gain money clarity. Let's get going on this voyage as we explore money and personal topics to guide you to that set of financial dreams you have always thrived for. Thanks for being here, and I would be deeply grateful if you could like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Hello, and welcome back to the Money Revelation Podcast. Today's going to be a bit different. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to cover a lot of ground, but I really thought this was all important, so here it goes. Now, I saw a post earlier this week that really grinded my gears. Shout out Family Guy if you watch it. Love that show growing up. Essentially, it was just this realtor in the United States showing a chart that compared roughly of the amount of house you could afford currently based on the amount of income you make. Now, this could be take-home money, but either way, I wanted to kind of discuss this post and a little bit more about it. Now, the chart in the picture basically included in the post went something like this, right? I think it was if you make roughly $75,000 a year, you can afford a $250,000 house. If you make $110,000 a year, you can afford around a $400,000 house. $150,000 to $170,000 annual income, you should be able to afford a $500,000 to $700,000 house. And lastly, if you make $250,000 a year ballpark, you can afford up to a $1 million home. Excuse my language, but holy crap. I'm going to give you a second to think about those numbers. Now, here's what really burns me up, y'all. We're living in a culture that is encouraging overspending. Wow, Brian, you're getting right to the defense, right? You're damn right. Defense wins championships, right? Now, listen, Realtor X, we'll call him that. If you hear this, I'm sorry, but your post is just a little bit too much for me. See, the caption on this video did discuss, now obviously this will depend on your debt to income and credit score. But it says nothing about all the other factors that should be included in this post. Whether or not this person left this information off for comments, algorithm hits, interaction is irrelevant in my mind. Now, when you're factoring what you can afford for home monthly payment and a total for your mortgage, the first thing that comes to my mind, is kids. Do any of you have children? Do you plan on having them anytime soon? Everyone, kids are freaking expensive. When they say the average kid lately costs you $16,000 a year, that is no joke. Now, that doesn't even include if you choose private school. That's a huge amount factored in right off the bat. Okay, so what if we have plans to have children? Perfect, right? We got it handled. Nope, that's not it. How about the bigger things? What if you buy that house and even though it's $400,000, you think everything is in tip-top shape? Wrong. Here's the tricky thing most people won't tell you about purchasing a new house. Usually one, if not both partners, are pretty darn picky. What that means in relation to what I want to talk about is for us, we moved into a house years ago to slowly began figuring out that the previous owner cheaply rigged a lot of things with basic band-aids. It's an older house. The amounts of what I called stupid things that I have found over the years when fixing things, or just in general, cause us to make a running joke that the previous owner was a moron. It's true. You can tell he had the I know how to do it guy mode turned on constantly instead of hiring anybody to do things right. Now, what about things like the furnace, the AC, the washer, the tub, the fridge? You don't think they're just going to last you the rest of your time there, do you? Ooh, I think you're in for a rude awakening. What about power outages? If you're listening from Metro Detroit lately, holy moly, right? Our power outages this year have been brutal. That wrecks things. A tree last month fell on a house down the street from us during a huge storm. Luckily, no major damage was done. And if the roof was ruined or windows are ruined, they probably have good insurance, most likely. But still, things like that you don't control. You don't control everything. And not factoring these in just because your house is newer is just silly. But again, this post did not mention that. Listen, you guys. I know that post. The guy that posted it, of course, knows all of this. He's a realtor. I would hope so. I know that he most likely created the post to stir up interaction about his Instagram, causing conversation. But that's where I can't stand social media. We've come to a full point of look at me, look at me. I'm sure this guy is great to his clients. I'm sure he is. But generating a post like that is often misleading. Part 2. Let's talk about those numbers. All right. So on top of all that, let's review the cost of housing right now and why coaching, your finances, etc. are so important to that purchase or possibly big move. Now we're going to touch on debt, savings, and my favorite, what's called the trigger theory. I think first of the cost of a house aligned with your priorities, goals, and your future. Let me explain what that all means. When you're getting ready to purchase a new house, refi, whatever, I cannot stress this enough. I want you to start writing down your goals in the next 5 to 10 years. The typical mortgage realtor person constantly states, date the rate, marry the house. You may have heard that a lot lately, right? It's super common right now. Rates are still over 6% in a lot of areas. Compared to back in 2020 with COVID and stuff, it was like 2.5%, 3%. It was so different than now. I mean, I get that quote. I really do. But I think the biggest question still lies, is this going to be your forever home or your starter type home that you might upgrade in 7 to 10 years? The reason I want you to start pondering that question more is back in 2014 when we first bought our house, right? Now, we knew part of our near future goals were to adopt 2 children. We did that. But in 2014, we still had a budget. We still made sure we could afford it. And just because we knew we were having 2 kids and probably could afford a bit more house price-wise, didn't mean that we were going to max out that amount. So for instance, now I'm just trying to ad-lib a little bit because it was 9 years ago. I barely know what I did 9 days ago sometimes. But I think our maximum amount for house that we wanted to budget was around $200,000. Something like that. Guess what? We analyzed everything we wanted in a house with our realtor mortgage and ourselves, and we ended up finding a small medium ranch to our liking for under $165,000. What's the point? Well, to compare this back to that social media post from earlier, just because you're told you can afford up to a $300,000 home shouldn't mean you should try and find a home for that amount. You need to decide what your values are. Now, our home with our 2 kids and 2 dogs is quickly becoming too small as of recently. And yeah, we're going to have to upgrade in a year or 2. But we knew that going in. We didn't just buy a house that was 35 to 50 grand more at the time. Our next house hopefully will be our long-term home until we are close to retirement. The trigger theory. You're saying, what is that relating to what we're talking about? Well, the trigger theory is something I've really been noticing, discussing a lot more as recent in my coaching. When it comes to your financial side, essentially it relates to when you get paid, you log in, pay bills automatically, credit cards, etc. right away. That trigger happy finger. There's a reason why this isn't a good habit in finances. We can talk about that some other time. But it's similar to buying a house in my mind. Often we feel rushed. The market now, you will hear, is so hectic. You have to be ready to put an offer on a house or the next day it will be gone. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that realtors and other people are not going to like. It's been like that almost always. Even in 2014, the night we viewed the home, this is a true story, everyone. And, my boy Jim, if you're listening to this, or if Jen's listening to this, your wife, and she shares this with you, even the night we viewed the home and wanted to definitely think this was it, and we did, our realtor called us. We were at Famous Dave's. I'll never remember. I don't even like that place. I don't eat that stuff anyway anymore, but it's not very good, but everyone loves it. And we were at Famous Dave's with my friend Jim. And the realtor called and said the other people were in the running, the other couple that was buying, attempting to buy it, are ready to go. And the sellers want a commitment before tomorrow. Rushed, y'all. Now, luckily, I hung up. I said, listen, I'll call you back. We were able to take a bit. We talked it over while we were sitting there and trying to enjoy dinner. And we did call her back that night. It was the house we wanted, and our offer was accepted that night. Cool, but we're always in a rush in this country. There is nothing wrong with you, all you realtors out there. You're looking out for the client. You're making sure if this is the home of your dreams, you get it. I appreciate that. But we have to start thinking about our mindset as well as our client's mindset. If any time the day of the offer, me and my wife had hesitation at all, we probably would have said, you know what? Seems great. But if we are not able to sleep on it, then it is what it is. Remember, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Take a breath. It's crazy, isn't it? Right? It's reality, though. Never rush yourself into something. That's just my opinion. Now, the debt and savings portion of this whole major house purchase conversation, we got to get right into. I love talking about debt management. You all know that. The post I was referring to did quickly include a comment about the number factor into your debt to income, but often I am asked, how much debt is too much debt in your mind, Brian, when it comes to bigger loans, houses, etc.? It depends. It really does, everyone. It depends how much you're looking for in a loan, too. I'm not going to give you a percentage. I'll have a mortgage lender on eventually to talk about that. But let's look at it this way. If you were asking, hey, I'm looking to possibly buy a home in the next year or so. I'm curious how much debt is too much debt. Then guess what? That statement right there, you were kind of insinuating that you already know your debt is a problem. Never thought of it that way, did you? Listen, we purchased a house with debt. We did. We had student loans, as you all probably know about me. If you don't, it's on my website, my story. We had a car payment at the time. It's not always about how much debt you have, but more so how do you manage it? Are you constantly opening credit cards and loans? Maybe you're really darn good at paying great all the time of your debt. Do you have history with debt? That one is something that a lot of people are going to try and scare you away with. Credit history. I'm assuming most people listening to this and overall are not going to pay for their house all in cash. Sure, every once in a while you get someone that saved like crazy, was gifted funds, has a huge paying job that can pull it off. Congrats to them. But overall, a majority of us are going to put down as much percentage as we think we can and move into a mortgage. They need to see that you have type of larger loans that you've consistently paid, no matter what people say in this world. Car loans, student loans, maybe a little more heavier loans, whatever is more than a few $100s. Your credit matters. Don't let other people say credit doesn't matter when it comes to mortgages. Now, I don't know the new rules starting to slowly pop up. I heard a few stories, and I'll, again, have a mortgage lender on soon to answer it more, but about these rent payments. I heard certain states, local areas, mortgage are going to start considering rent payments and showing your payment history. Don't quote me on that, though. We'll talk about that with a mortgage lender. And finally, your savings, right? Plain and simple. If you don't have enough money saved, it's really risky to make a home purchase. I'm not saying put 20% down. We easily can do that. And we got another 20 grand on top of that type of savings. But a home is expensive after the fact. Not having some type of home repair savings, emergency savings afterwards is just going to hurt you. And if and when, most importantly, those random house expenses come up. And trust me, they will. That was a lot to unpack today. And, I might not make a lot of friends on that episode, but I got to tell the truth. And, it was really on my mind. One post can make you that salty. And I want to make sure you understood a lot about what we discussed today. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. I really do. If you could follow the podcast, share with others, leave a comment what you might have taken out of today. That'd be absolutely amazing. Until next time, stay blessed and positive. I'll see you soon.